When it comes to being a trusted C suite advisor and building lasting customer relationships, few can match Namita's track record. She's currently the co founder of Third Eye Advisory, where she's assembled an elite network of thought leaders who help enterprises break through their growth ceilings. I first came across Namita's work during her Gartner days, where she spent 12 remarkable years pioneering their customer advocacy approach. As the leader of their strategic accounts business, she didn't just grow revenues 10x. She fundamentally transformed how CXOs across the globe view advisory partnerships. From succession planning to brand transformation, she became the go to advisor that senior executives trusted. Even at Wipro, she was already setting the standard for customer advocacy. We're super excited to have such a champion of customer first thinking here today on Sales is Cool. Welcome, Namita.
Thank you so much for that awesome introduction, Karthik. It's very humbling to hear that. Yeah,
No, no, it's all accurate. But Namita, do you want to get stuck in right to the first question?
yeah, yeah. Please.
Let's go. So you heard my sort of LinkedIn, if you will, introduction. If you were to give us a non-LinkedIn version, what would that be?
Wow. Okay. It has always interested me how we can really make an impact in other lives, and I think sales became a medium for that. And it was interesting to hear the challenges from the client and find a solution for it. And when it actually met that requirement, always excited me. And then I was on to another problem. It was a lot like an investigative approach. In fact, I think one of your descriptions of Sherlock Holmes is an approach that has always kept me very intrigued and engaged in this occasion. Yeah.
And
So
just for everyone
that's
out
how
there,
I've done it all my life.
lovely.
Yeah.
Just for everyone out there, Namita is talking about a LinkedIn post that we did at Scooter, which talks about it's a short quiz on what sales personality are you, and I think Namita was a Sherlock.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Was.
Thanks for that plug in there
No, that
for
was a really good. That was a really good, assessment.
awesome, awesome. Namita, I want to take you back to the beginning, right? Your first ever job. If you could tell us what that was and what you did.
Yeah. So my first job was to develop a software for a hospitality firm. So I started as a coder and developed. Uh, there was no ERP at that time, but an integrated systems that kind of had accounts and like registrations. So it
Okay.
was two modules, but they were integrated. So every time you booked a hotel accommodation, kind of went into the roster, and all the billings used to happen. So that was the module I first developed as a software developer, and that was for Coromandel software. So
Oh, lovely.
that was way
So,
back.
how did Namita, the coder, realize that sales would be a career for her? Was there a moment or a person or a job that made you realize that?
Yeah. No, I was hired as a support personnel in Microland. This
Okay.
was 97. And I was, that hardware engineer would carry, all the supports stuff and go and fix it. And then one day I got called on to my regional manager's office and was asked, what am I doing? And I was, really scared because, I didn't know what I was, if I had done something that was like very wrong. And here, and I was like, what did I really do? And then he told me that the upgrade sales in my patch had significantly gone up, and he wanted to know what I was doing. So then I said that, look, I found that some of the updates and bug fixes were not in thing, and I kind of just gave that recommendation to make the changes and why they should be doing it. Then he asked me if I wanted to go to sales because he said that, you would get very great commission. And, I was like, there's nothing to lose. I was going to do the same thing that I always did, except that now I got to do an extra work of closing the deal. So that's how I came into sales. And then it's been exciting journey since then.
And that was your first foray into sales. But if you could tell us or let the listeners know, what was that moment? Like, did you feel that this was the your calling, if you will?
So I think it's mostly in terms of customer satisfaction, because when they come and they say that yes, this really helped me through, it felt absolutely good. I walked on air for 2 days, and then I got used to it. So I think that's when I realized that here is something that I can make a difference to people, and then I got more opportunities, and then I grabbed it with both hands.
Nice. Lovely. Just changing tracks a little bit. Now that you've had this wonderful career in sales, if you were to go back and transfer your current knowledge to your younger self, what's something that you do differently?
Yeah, actually, I was talking to one of my mentees yesterday, and it's like so coincidental that I realized that if I were to say something to my younger self, I would ask them to stay invested in themselves, in their personal growth. And I think I would give the same advice to myself also. I think it's very important. We get so lost in our work is that we don't really invest in ourselves and our growth. And I think it has to be periodical investment on in growth, and a lot of the times, like, we have attended some phenomenal conferences which we don't really leverage for knowledge or for networking as efficiently as we could. So I think little things like that, where you're putting a little bit of a thought into everything that you do, I think is very essential, to reflect and to make sure that, you're taking the next step intelligently and not just like a, I mean, at one point in time, I think you feel that you can do it, it, but I think it always is helpful to take a pause and reflect. So that's what I would tell my younger self.
That's great, and I think it's meaningful advice, right? Sometimes it's good to take a step back, see how you are planning your career, what is the skill deficit that you need to
Yeah.
fill, and train yourself to be a better version. So that's really good advice. We have a lot of people, who are looking to get great jobs and looking to have the career that you have. What do you look for when you are hiring a sales professional?
Okay. When I look at a salesperson, I think there are two things that makes them remarkable. One is ability to qualify, know that this is the client that can buy. And second is to close the deal, right? In terms of to say that, okay, what do I need to do for you to sign up? And if they have clarity on these two abilities, right, then everything else in terms of, that kind of complements these two can be taught. But I think it's very important to learn how to know who is a buyer and whether he has ability to buy, and the other is in terms of knowing the timing to quickly close, that compelling reason to close, and to know that, so I think if these come naturally to the person, then they makes a very excellent candidates, because everything else can is manageable according to me.
And just so that we understand, you mentioned ability to quickly qualify, understand what it takes to close. Those are the two important things for you. How do you see that when you are evaluating a salesperson? What are maybe some of the questions you're asking, or what are you seeing in that conversation with that sales professional that help you understand that, okay, maybe this person has these traits?
Yeah. So I think a lot of the times we bring our own personality into work, right? And having clarity in terms of what I want and, how can I accomplish that gives you a cue into saying that, okay, we tend to mirror ourselves. And then therefore the questions that we would be asking our client is to say that, what is it that you need and how do you really want it operationalized, is a natural question that comes across. So if you ask them questions in terms of like, what are you looking to do in the next period of time, could be a short term, could be a long term question, or asking them saying that how are you going to achieve it, and in the way they narrate that answer give you a lot of insights into how they are going to frame that question for the client and how they are going to address it. And in my career I have seen people who have a very clear sense of purpose and know how they are going to achieve it have been my best salespeople. And in
Lovely.
terms of closing, it's always about the timing, the urgency, the sense of urgency, what they exhibit in terms saying that, and some of the questions I would ask them that, if you want this job and if you don't get it, how will you approach it? If I tell you that no, you're not getting this job and you really want it, how do you approach it? And the way they will respond will tell you that how keen they are in terms of closing the job. Most of the people who want this job will kind of make sure that it's closed within the interview.
Understood. So you're seeing snippets of their personality
Yes.
shine through, and those are proxies of how they will interact
Yeah.
in a client
Yeah.
situation. That's great. Just now talking about what's recently happened for you, right? You made the move, as often sales leaders do, into entrepreneurship. How did that move from sales to entrepreneurship happen?
So, very reluctantly at first. And I think then it came together for me because a big part of being an entrepreneur is taking initiative, and a big part of being a salesperson is taking initiative. And I think the process of thinking through for the client is the same for an entrepreneur as well as a salesperson. So, therefore, I think the transition was not so hard as I had imagined it to be. Because if you look at a salesperson, it's important for him to have him or her to have a commercial acumen, and I think that really helps because these are the decisions that an entrepreneur makes in terms of product pricing, and who or like. Really targeting the customer communication and really segmenting your market. These are all the things that an entrepreneur has to do, and I think sales it's for sales is a natural progression. But yeah, I mean, like there is a number of rules that we follow for an organization as salespeople. I think as an entrepreneur you get to set those rules, and kind of really helped that I worked for my previous employer because that was a concept of sales there as a franchisee model, right? And so it was much easier to make that transition. And I have always, as a product, right, I always very interested in strategic advice, and therefore it became the core product for the company.
Lovely, lovely. Simple question: is sales cool? And if yes, what's the coolest thing about it, and that most people don't realize?
Okay, I think it's really cool. Sales is very cool because actually it's different for different people, right? I mean, obviously at first it's a lot of money, but there is also a big satisfaction of having been useful to a client, and I really enjoy that part more. Yeah, and of course the money.
Love cost the money twice. So
Karthik, I've always loved money and what it can do.
no, no, and you've made a lot of it as well. We'll move quickly to the rapid fire section, right? This is a section we have where the answer should be short and instinctive. Okay, are you ready?
Yes.
Awesome, let's go. What is a belief you held with absolute certainty earlier on in your career that makes you laugh now?
Wow. That every attempt I do, I will succeed.
Nice. What's a sales leader habit that was hardest to unlearn when you became an entrepreneur?
Wanting results immediately.
What's the most memorable purchase you made from a commission?
Wow. There have been many. Yeah, I think it would be my LV bag. I just got it on a whim, and it's been 10 years. It's as good as new. Yeah. Rest of them
Uh,
have been mostly investments. So,
what is your most memorable sales mentor?
oh, that would have to be my first sales boss, TSK at Microland.
Great. We're going to do choose one or the other right now.
Okay.
Uh, high fixed or uncapped variable?
Uncapped variable.
Relationship building or great listening?
They are both the same. So, great listening.
Team happy hours or team workshop?
Team happy hours.
Early bird or night owl?
Early bird.
Time travel to the past or to the future?
Mm, actually, neither.
You're quite happy with the present?
Yeah, I'm a person of the moment.
Lovely. Namita, that brings us to the end of our time. I really want to thank you for participating in this. Really appreciate the time that you spent with us, and also it's such a wonderful journey that you've had, right? Starting out as a coder, moving into a sales career, and now currently as an entrepreneur with Third Eye Advisory as their co-founder. And I think what really shows and shines through is your attention to detail and also how you put yourself out there for your customers. And I think I'd love to have you, and I've had the privilege of having you as a colleague, but I'd love to have you as my salesperson because I know you will always have my back as a customer. So thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think it's been a pleasure to do this interview as well as to be working with you earlier and going forward.